What happens next?
Well, I think it's an opportunity for this West Wing staff to regroup. Steve Bannon was somebody who caused a lot of discord with his colleagues. And, love him or hate him, he was not a force for positive dialogue in that building. And removing him, I think, is a positive step, and it puts the chief of staff sort of more firmly in charge of the team. And it was a necessary move, and I'm glad the president did it.
What does the message, how does the president get back on message, and what is the message he ought to get back on?
Right now, he needs a legislative victory. He needs an accomplishment. And the fastest way to do that, based on what's happening on Capitol Hill, is to focus almost exclusively on tax reform. And there's other things that the government does, of course, out of the agencies. But what he needs to do is get a tax reform package passed through the Congress and signed. And he needs something that he can point to as an accomplishment. And there's a lot of agreement on the need for tax reform. And so this is still doable, although certainly it's gotten much more difficult because of the way the infighting in the West Wing, the events in Charlottesville. I don't think Republicans on Capitol Hill are any too quick to jump behind Trump and get behind what he wants to do on tax reform, but hopefully they can still come together.
We were talking just a few moments ago, Sarah, about who in the White House can help him on Capitol Hill the most. And my guess would be that it would be Vice President Pence. Do you share that view? In other words, if he needs a legislative pusher, it might well be Mr. Pence, or is there someone else whom I'm overlooking?
No, you're right. The vice president is the single best person to carry that. He's well respected. He's well liked. He obviously comes from that body, so his relationships there run deep. And he's a conservative. And passing tax reform, is going to be a challenge with the conservative Freedom Caucus, wing of the Republican Party, depending what's actually in the package that they put forward, the two bodies put forward. But and Pence can help, I think, navigate that. But the thing about and the president has lost a tremendous number of chief staff. When you stop and think about a chief of staff, a deputy chief of staff, the national security advisor, and I could go on, press secretary. He's basically turned over his staff in the first months of his administration. And so, but there's still a lot of really good people who work there. He has, the former Attorney General Sessions, former chief of staff, Rick Dearborn, very well respected, his deputy chief of staff in the West Wing right now. That's someone who can help him. He does have a team there that can get a package done, but they've got to come together and be basically exclusively focused on that.
I'm sure you know people who have been offered positions either in the White House or high levels of government that may have turned them down because they're afraid of what working in this administration may do to their future job prospects. Do you believe that we will see people who are willing to step in should a Gary Cohn leave? Will somebody take that job? If you were asked to work in the White House, this White House, would you?
I would not work in this White House, and largely because because of just my concerns about the way the president, has run the West Wing. But having said that, I do think there are people willing to serve and who look at the greater good of the country and think that it's important for things to be accomplished for the American people. And there are many people there. I think Gary Cohn is probably one of them. Dina Powell, certainly. Who say, look, I've got to stay and I've got to do what I can to be helpful here. I do think, the events in Charlottesville were a turning point. I think before then, more people were willing to serve. I think people now want to see what happens. I think if a Gary Cohn left or, if, God forbid, the chief of staff resigned, boy, things would get very, very difficult in the recruitment process.
When Bob Pisani confirms, and we thought we heard it on the air, but we weren't sure, when we put up the deco on the screen, that's the thing at the bottom there, that says Bannon was out at the White House, there was a cheer on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, they clearly felt his departure was good for the markets in some way. Can you splice and dice that? I mean, to what degree would he have had the most impact on either tax reform or on the trade policy or when it comes to geopolitical stability or immigration, et cetera?
I think, look, most of the time these individuals, with the outsized personalities, their influence is overestimated. That's in my experience. I think his probably was too, but he was certainly the most prominent nationalist in that team, and somebody who had pushed Trump to the right on these issues, on trade policies that would not be good for this economy, tax policies like the VAT that would not be good for this economy. And so the fact that he is now on the outside, I think that those traders and those folks on the floor understood that makes it more likely that something meaningful can get done, that it's going to be a balanced approach that would grow the economy.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.